The late afternoon sun, a gentle wash of honey gold, filtered through the window, painting shifting patterns on the aged wooden floor. I sat, cradling a mug of jasmine tea, its warmth seeping into my hands, a comforting anchor. My journal lay open on my lap, its pages filled with the sprawling tapestry of my thoughts, a quiet testament to a journey long underway. There was a stillness within me now, a deep, resonant calm that had once felt like an unattainable myth. It wasn't the absence of feeling, but the gentle hum of peace that comes from truly knowing oneself, from having tended to the garden of one's soul with patient, loving hands. For so long, my inner landscape had been a tempest, a flurry of anxieties, an endless striving to be more, to be enough. I remember that younger self, a woman who moved through the world with a permeable boundary, absorbing the emotions and expectations of others as if they were her own. Her worth was a fragile thing, easily swayed by a approving glance, shattered by a critical word. She was a chameleon, changing her hues to match the dominant shade of her environment, believing that this adaptability was her strength, her path to love and belonging. In truth, it was her quiet undoing. I recall the early seeds of this pattern, sown in childhood. A home where peace was conditional, where love felt like a reward for good behavior, for making others happy. I learned early that my feelings were secondary, perhaps even inconvenient. Joy was acceptable, sadness was often met with a need to cheer up, and anger was simply not allowed. So, I became adept at tucking my authentic self away, a precious, vulnerable thing hidden deep within, while an accommodating, smiling facade faced the world. This wasn't a conscious strategy, but a survival mechanism, a delicate dance of self-abandonment performed without even realizing the music was being played. This tendency blossomed fully in my adult relationships. There was Michael, who loved my easy laugh and my willingness to always say yes. My yes to his plans, his friends, his dreams, even when they quietly eclipsed my own. I remember feeling a dull ache in my chest when I realized I hadn't picked up a paintbrush, a hobby I once adored, in years. His passion for cycling filled our weekends, and I'd cheer him on, a supportive figure on the sidelines, while my own creative spirit withered in the shadows. I genuinely believed I was being a good partner, a loving woman, by making his happiness my priority. The truth was I was slowly erasing myself, stroke by painful stroke. The love I thought I was fostering was, in fact, built on a foundation of my own diminishing. Then came Sarah, a friend whose vibrant energy I admired. She was a whirlwind of ideas, of needs, of emotional crises. I became her unwavering anchor, her confidant, her problem solver. I'd spend hours on the phone, listening, advising, offering comfort, often neglecting my own needs, my own quiet moments. I felt important, needed, loved in that role. It was a potent drug, a feeling of being essential. But it was also exhausting. I'd hang up, my head buzzing, my own worries still lingering, untouched, unheard. I confused reciprocity with responsibility, believing that to be a good friend meant carrying the weight of another, even if it meant my own shoulders buckled under the strain. The unraveling wasn't sudden. It was a gradual erosion, like a river carving its path through stones. I would catch glimpses of myself in the mirror and see not a radiant woman, but a tired, slightly dulled reflection. The sparkle in my eyes seemed to have dimmed. A persistent, quiet emptiness began to echo in the chambers of my heart. It wasn't despair, but a profound lack of presence. I was always there for others, but rarely here for myself. The true turning point arrived not with a bang, but with a whisper. A quiet Sunday morning, much like this one, when I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a decision purely for my own joy, without considering its impact on someone else's convenience or happiness. The realization hit me with the gentle force of a wave receding, leaving behind a stark, clear shore. I was living a life that was technically mine, but existentially, it belonged to everyone else. The thought was sobering, not infuriating, but deeply, profoundly sad. That day, I opened a dusty notebook and simply wrote, "Who am I, really?" The question hung in the air, vast and terrifying. It was the first honest question I'd asked myself in a very long time. My initial steps were tentative, born more of desperation than conviction. I started with small acts of rebellion, of reclaiming. I enrolled in a pottery class, something I'd always wanted to try, without consulting anyone, without inviting anyone to join. The messy, tactile process of shaping clay felt like shaping a new version of myself. I rediscovered the joy of solitude, of long walks in nature, where the only demands were the rhythm of my own breath and the silent language of the trees. The path to self-awareness was paved with discomfort. I sought out a therapist, a kind, insightful woman who became a gentle guide. She helped me unearth the roots of my patterns, the fear of abandonment, the subconscious belief that my inherent worth was insufficient, the deep-seated need for external validation. We talked about attachment styles, about the concept of the inner child who still feared being unloved or unnoticed. It was like learning a new language for my own emotional landscape. One of the most profound psychological realizations was understanding the difference between empathy and enmeshment. I had always prided myself on my empathy, my ability to feel what others felt. But I realized I was often taking on their emotions, allowing them to dictate my own state, rather than simply observing and understanding. My therapist helped me visualize an invisible boundary, a loving, energetic shield that allowed me to offer compassion without absorbing another's suffering. It was about standing in my own energetic space, solid and grounded, even when reaching out to others. Emotional healing was not linear. There were days when the grief for my lost years felt overwhelming, a quiet lament for the woman I hadn't been. I learned to sit with these feelings, to acknowledge them without judgment. Yes, I would whisper to myself, "This hurts." And it's okay to feel it. This simple act of validation, learned through countless journaling sessions and meditative moments, was revolutionary. It was the opposite of what I had learned as a child. It was permission to be fully human, with all its messy, beautiful emotions. Setting boundaries was perhaps the hardest, yet most liberating, part of this journey. The first no felt like a physical wrench, a defiance of a lifetime of conditioning. I remember the tremor in my voice when I told Sarah I couldn't talk for hours every night, that I needed time for myself. Her initial reaction was confusion, then a touch of hurt. It was difficult, navigating those ripples. But seeing her eventually understand, seeing our friendship transform into something more balanced and respectful, was incredibly validating. Similarly, in my relationships, I learned to articulate my needs, my desires, my limits, not as demands, but as declarations of my authentic self. Some relationships shifted, some gently faded, and some deepened into something richer, more equitable. Today, my relationship with myself is the longest, most important one I will ever have. It's a dance of gentle care and fierce protection. I've come to understand that self-love isn't about arrogance or selfishness. It's about establishing an unwavering inner sanctuary from which I can genuinely connect with the world. It's about replenishing my own well so I have something true and abundant to offer. I still have moments of doubt, of insecurity, but now I have the tools to navigate them. I can acknowledge the old whispers without letting them take root. I can offer myself compassion instead of criticism. The sun has dipped lower now, casting longer shadows. The jasmine tea is cool, but the warmth within me remains. I close my journal, a sense of quiet accomplishment settling over me. This journey, this excavation of self, has not been easy, but it has been the most meaningful work of my life. I have reclaimed my voice, my passions, my quiet strength. I am no longer defined by what I do for others, but by who I authentically am. And in that space, there is a profound, undeniable peace. If this resonated with you, please subscribe for more reflections on the journey to self-love.